Hello, friends. Welcome back to our next episode of Kids Place, where kids come to play, learn, achieve, create, and explore. I'm Mrs. Traherne, and this is my co-host,
Mrs. Day. Let's get started with our hello song. Hello, friends. How are you? We're so happy to see you. Greet your neighbor, boogie on down. Give a bump and turn around.
Hello, friends. We're going to have some fun during our play segment today, and we're going to do a poem about one of our local animals that I'm sure you're very familiar with, the crab. Okay, here we go. The crab. The crab likes walking sideways, and I think the reason why is to make himself look sneaky and pretend that he's a spy. Did you hear the rhyme? Why? Spy. They have the same ending sound. They rhyme.
Friends, have you ever crab walked before? Why don't we read this again? And I want you to try to crab walk at home. While we're doing that, we're going to take a look at some of our friends who tried crab walking from George Washington Carver Elementary School in Mrs. Durst's class and Mrs.
Ripple's class.
All right, let's try it.
This is going to be fun. The crab likes walking sideways, and I think the reason why is to make himself look sneaky and pretend that he's a spy. Now it's time to breathe so we can get ourselves ready and calm. We have learned so many good strategies from conscious discipline. Our first breathing was called the star, where you smile, take a deep breath, and relax. The second breathing strategy we learned is called the balloon, where you inflate your balloon and then breathe out. The third one was called the drain, where you breathe in and let the water flow out as you exhale. And our newest one is called the pretzel, where we twist up our arms as we're breathing. Okay, so let's get ready for the pretzel breath. We're going to take our hands, we're going to turn them, wait a minute. Thumbs down,
Yeah.
sorry. And then we're going to twist them and interlock our fingers and then bring them up inside. Now we're going to breathe in through our nose. Relax your body. Exhale through your mouth. And your exhale should always take longer than your inhale. Let's do it again. Breathe in. Relax your body. Exhale slowly. And a third one. Breathe in. Relax your body. Exhale. And release. And if that's too tough for you to do, you can simply crisscross your hands on your shoulders. Breathe in. Relax your body. Exhale. Breathe in. Relax your body. Exhale. Good job breathing out slowly. Inhale. Relax your body. And now we're ready.
Hello, boys and girls. Today we have a special Learn segment Fanny, we have someone so special joining us today.
Who is it? Who is it?
I got the chance to go out to the Elms Environmental Center to learn all about the animals that live in the Chesapeake Bay. We're going to go visit Mrs. Margarita, who's going to teach us all about them. Let's go and take a look.
Hi friends, my name is Margarita and I'm a teacher here at the Elms. No matter where you go to school, the Elms Environmental Center is your school too. When you're in kindergarten and then again when you're in first grade, on one very special day of the year, you'll come here on a bus with your teacher and with all your classmates, and you'll spend a special day here learning about the environment of the Chesapeake Bay. Let's see some of the animals that you might learn about when you're in kindergarten and first grade. When you come here in kindergarten, we're going to study some very special animals that live in the Chesapeake Bay. Can you guess what they are? I heard fish. Good guess. There are a lot of fish in the bay, but instead we're going to study animals that live in shells. One of the animals we'll study is called the oyster. The oyster has a top shell and a bottom shell. When he's a baby, he is so teeny you can't even see him. He's called a plankton, and he just floats along in the water until he hits something hard. When he hits something hard, maybe another oyster shell, he glues himself onto that shell, and then he'll never ever leave. As he grows bigger, his shell grows bigger. Can you be an oyster shell? Give me a bottom shell and a top shell. Now when you're an oyster, you're stuck where you are, but you still get hungry. You can't pick up and go to McDonald's to get food, so this is what you do. You crack open your shell just a teeny bit. You take a big gulp of bay water. You eat out the little plankton in there. Did we say plankton? He might be eating baby oysters. He eats out the plankton, and then he spits out the clean water. Ready? If he's still hungry, he'll do it again. Another animal that lives in a shell in the Chesapeake Bay is called the clam. He has a top shell and a bottom shell too. Can you make a bottom shell and a top shell? Now the clam protects himself by being very, very shy. He digs himself into the sand or the mud at the bottom of the bay. To do this, he cracks open his shell. Can you do that? And he sticks out a slimy foot. And then he wiggles that foot into the sand and the mud at the bottom of the bay and pulls his whole body underneath. There he's safe. But while he's under the sand and the mud, he also gets hungry, just like the oyster. So this is what he does. He cracks open his shell, and this time he sticks out a straw or a siphon. He wiggles it out and wiggles it up through the sand and the mud until poof, it pops out into the water. Then he takes a big sip of water. Let's do it. He eats out the plankton and he spits out the clean water. That's the clam. Another animal that lives in a shell in the Chesapeake Bay is called the horseshoe crab. Why do you think he's called the horseshoe crab? Yeah, his shell kind of looks like a horse's foot or shoe. He has a long pointy telson, but he can't hurt you. He just uses this telson to flip himself back over if the waves or an animal has tipped him upside down. Now a horseshoe crab has 10 legs. Can you see them all here? Can you guess how many eyeballs he has? I'll give you a hint. He has the same number of eyeballs as he has legs. That's right, he has 10 eyeballs, but you can't see all of them. 2 of them are pretty big and right up front here. Many of them are underneath or on his telson. The special one on his telson will only tell him whether it's light or dark. If the eyeball on his telson sees light, then he knows that he is upside down and needs to turn himself back over. If the eyeball underneath his tail, since he's dark, he's just fine. He can just go along, crawling along the Chesapeake Bay floor. Do you want to guess how many mouths he has? No, not 10. He only has one, but it's located in a very silly place. His mouth is right here, in between all 10 of his legs. He crawls along the bay, pulling little clams and other small animals into his mouth. And that's the horseshoe crab. The horseshoe crab doesn't keep his same shell for his whole life. When he gets too big for his shell, he has another shell underneath. That shell underneath is very soft but stretchy. When he needs to change his shell, he cracks open the top and bottom of his shell right here, and he squeezes out this way and leaves his old empty shell behind. This is an empty shell. The horseshoe crab that lived here is somewhere out in the Chesapeake Bay, swimming and crawling along. When he got out of his shell, his new shell got bigger and bigger, and finally it got hard again to protect him. So a horseshoe crab does not keep his same shell for his whole life. Here's another animal that lives in the Chesapeake Bay that has a shell. He is a turtle called the terrapin. The terrapin is actually Maryland's state reptile. Now, terrapin has to stay in his same shell his whole life. When he gets bigger, his shell gets bigger. You can tell that our terrapin is an aquatic turtle. Aquatic means he lives in water. Look closely at his toes. He has skin in between his toes. Those are kind of like flippers that help him swim through the water. A terrapin lives in the water almost all the time. They'll only come out to lay eggs in the sand near the Chesapeake Bay or other rivers that they live in. This little girl is named Snuffy. She's about 11 years old. When we first found her here at the Elms, she wasn't much bigger than a quarter. Now look how much she's grown. She has very soft skin and a short little tail. I hope you've enjoyed learning about a lot of the animals that live here in the Chesapeake Bay and on the land near the bay. I'm really looking forward to seeing you when you're in kindergarten and first grade. I can't wait to see you at your school, the Elms. Bye-bye.
Today we're going to read a book called Meet Chadwick and His Chesapeake Bay Friends by Priscilla Cummings, illustrated by A.R. Cohen. If you would like to meet a crab with googly eyes, then come along and take a look. You're in for a surprise. Meet Chadwick, the Chesapeake crab, as happy as can be. He lives beneath the blue waters, in a bay beside the sea. He has 8 legs to help him swim, and 2 big pincers too. He swims and pinches all day long. It's what crabs like to do. Young Chadwick has a lot of friends in the bay and on the beach. Some like the water, some like the land, and some like some of each. Some friends have noses, some have beaks, and some of them have bills. Some friends have feathers, some have fur, and some of them have gills. Meet Bernie, who's a seagull, always looking for some lunch. He loves the fish at dinner time and cookies by the bunch. Friend Bernie is a fat old bird, as happy as can be. He eats his fish and flies above the bay beside the sea. Meet Miss Matilda, white egret, a proper one at that. She always looks her very best with flowers in her hat. Matilda is a ladybird, as fussy as can be. She loves her mucky, muddy marsh near the bay beside the sea. Now meet P.L.A.C.E, the Canadian goose, who visits from the north. He flies back home in spring and says he likes it back and forth. I hear P.L.A.C.E, the traveling goose, honking joyously. He loves to spend his winters at the bay beside the sea. Meet Hector Spectre Jellyfish, the silliest fish you'll find. He goes this way, then that way, because he can't make up his mind. Watch Hector Spectre Jellyfish, wishy-washy as can be. He doesn't know which way to go in his bay beside the sea. Meet Belly Jeans the Flounder. At the bottom of the bay, he snuggles underneath the sand, and there he wants to stay. See Belly Jeans the Flounder fish, as splat flat as can be? He loves life at the bottom of the bay beside the sea. And now meet Orville Oyster. Shh, it's hard to see his face. He's very shy and quiet too, and stays in just one place. His shell is hard and crusty, and as solid as can be. He calls that crusty shell his home, in the bay beside the sea. Meet stately Baron von Heron, so tall and slim and blue. He can be short when he wants to, or tall to see far too. The great blue Baron von Heron, a bird of royalty. He watches out for all his friends in the bay beside the sea. Meet Sid and Sal, an osprey pair who found a market best to build a home and spend their time in a great big stick-filled nest. They opened up at dinner, too. Friends eat there frequently. The food is good at Sid and Sal's in the bay beside the sea. Meet Esmeralda, lady crab, with claw tips all in red. This is what we learned about today. She loves cute Chadwick. He loves her. That's all that need be said. So pretty Esmeralda is, so happy and so free. All day she plays with Chadwick in the bay beside the sea. Though Chadwick and his many friends are different as can be, they live together happily in the bay beside the sea.
For today's Create segment, it's going to follow up with the poem that we read. We're going to make some crabs out of some very simple objects. We're going to use construction paper, scissors, glue for our materials, and of course you're going to need your hands for some folding today. And I have some end results. Now, the crabs that live in the Chesapeake Bay are blue crabs. So I did one in blue, and then when you cook them, they become a reddish color. So I did one in red. So, Mrs. Day, are you ready for this project?
I'm ready.
All right, you get to choose. Do you want to do a red crab like the cooked crab or a blue crab like it comes out of the Chesapeake Bay?
I'm going to do a blue crab.
Okay, then I'll do a red one.
Okay.
All right, if you look at our crab body, do you notice something about the shape that seems familiar to the shapes Mrs. Day taught us about?
I do. It
What do you
looks like a half of something.
A half
wonder
of
if we do
something.
this.
If we put them side by side, it makes a circle. Okay, so I believe these are called semicircles.
Semicircles, yeah.
All right, so I am going to fold my paper in half so my crab's not too large. We're only going to need half of it.
I'm going to pinch.
Pinch and slide.
Okay.
I'm only going to use half of it. So I'm going to take my scissors, and remember how we hold them, thumb on top, and then we hold the bottom with our other fingers. Open, shut, open, shut. I'm going to cut across the fold. Now we have half.
Okay.
And now we're going to make a semicircle or a half circle. And you can do this freehand, or if you're kind of a perfectionist, you can fold it in half.
Okay. No, it's really like a quarter circle.
Yes. Kind of like a pie, pizza pie slice.
Yeah.
right, how did yours come out?
Pretty good.
All right, so
Pretty
there's
good.
our body. Now we are ready to put the eyes on. And we have a big strip of black. We're gonna use the black for all of our fins and for our eyes, to hold
Okay.
our eyes. So we're going to just cut a strip all the way down the side. Open, shut, thumb on top. And then I'm gonna cut just 2 short pieces to put my eyes on. Now this project has a lot of pieces. So my recommendation is to go ahead and glue these on so nothing gets lost on the table. And now for our eyes, I see another shape. But it's not a semicircle, it's a full circle.
Yep.
And we put some little tiny black circles in the center so our eyes would pop. So we're gonna make 2 circles, a bigger white one and
then
a smaller black one.
Okay.
Now I have a shortcut. Some white for you.
Thank you very
A
much.
shortcut. I fold my paper in half
Okay.
and then I can make 2 eyes at
Ah.
once. I always hold the fold though, and then I make a round eye.
Just turn it as you go.
Yep.
Oh, I made little teeny tiny eyes.
And then we stick them on so nothing gets lost. And we stick them on the top.
Okay.
And we take one of our black scraps, fold it, and make some small black circles to put on top of your eyes. Keep turning your paper with your helper hand.
Okay.
And you know what? Mine's not an exact circle, but
Mine
that's
either.
okay.
Yep.
That's
mine
the
either.
fun of doing art. You can be creative, and it doesn't have to be perfect.
There we go.
All right, so now we have eyes. All right, we're gonna do a little mini science lesson.
Okay.
All right, now I was looking on Pinterest because Pinterest has such fun ideas, and I found this crab project, but the teacher and me said we've got to have the correct amount of legs on our crab.
Okay.
And we all know that crabs have pincher claws. So we're gonna make 2 big pincher claws.
Okay.
And then we're going to do fins. And then these are what I call the back fin. And if you eat crabs down here in St. Mary's County, you know that's where the good crab meat is, in the back fin. So we are going to make, and let's count. You ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 total. I did make the back fins shorter,
Okay.
and I made the crab claws a little bit wider,
thicker,
but
okay.
10 in all.
So 10 strips you're gonna need.
Now, what I like to do is touch and count. And if my friends are doing this with me, I whisper count so I don't mix up my friends counting.
Okay.
One more count.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay. Now, let's start with our pincher claws. Pick up your 2 big ones. And to make these look like they're in motion, we do what's called an accordion fold.
Okay.
And I'm gonna do 2 at once.
Okay.
It's less work. And what you do is you fold up, pinch,
Okay.
down, pinch, up, pinch, down, pinch, until you get to the end.
Okay, back and forth.
And then when you're finished, kind of looks like a zigzag.
Very cool.
And we put glue on one end and put it under your crab next to each eye. One on the left and one on the right.
Okay.
Now there's something missing on these. Do you know what it is?
We're missing some claws.
The claws. So I'm going to take my scraps from my circle,
Okay.
and what I'm going to do is I need two pieces because I need two, and I'm going to do one on top of the other.
Okay.
Now, what I did, if you can tell, this is a circle that I just cut a corner out of.
Okay.
So I'm going to make a circle. Again, turning while you cut. And then, once I have a circle, I just cut like a pie slice out of it. And we have not one, but two pincher claws.
Okay.
Glue them on the end. We're almost there. All right, so now we're ready for the fins, and we have 3 on each side. So we're gonna take 6 fins.
Okay.
3 plus 3 equals
6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I still feel like I didn't count it right. And 6.
Okay.
Now I line them up, and I'm gonna fold them all at the same time.
Okay.
And we can do either up and down or back and forth, whichever way makes you comfortable. But I always pinch so I make a nice crease till I get all the way to the end. Back and forth, back and forth.
Okay.
And then we just glue them on.
Glue them all on there.
3 on each side.
All right.
All right, there's one part of the crab that's left. What part is it?
Missing those.
The
2.
back fin.
The back fins. Yep.
Now, they are a little bit shorter, so you already made yours short.
I did.
All right, so we're gonna do our accordion fold,
Okay.
back and forth, up and down. Now, I was looking at the back fin, and the back fin doesn't have a pincher claw. When I looked, I noticed the shape is like a circle, but it's not a circle. Look at that. It looks like a circle that's been stretched.
Stretched out. Yeah. It's
Mrs. Day,
elongated.
since you're the shape expert, what is that shape called?
That's an oval.
Oval.
An oval.
Okay.
All right.
So when we make our oval, we need to make sure that 2 of the sides are kind of long.
Yeah.
We can't just go around like a circle. And we're gonna make 2. So I'm gonna fold my paper in half again, and I see you already did it.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know, it's kind of a long, thin circle. And then we're gonna glue those. I did mine kind of on the edge,
Yeah.
and I made them a little bit sideways.
Okay.
Put your ovals on the end.
I got it.
Now, if you're at home and you're making this with brothers and sisters or a friend or neighbor, there's one thing you should do whenever you make a project in a group so that I don't mix my crab up with my friends. Do you know what it is?
No.
We should write our name on it.
Oh, good thinking.
Then we know who the artist is.
Okay.
And whenever you're finished with glue, what do we always remember to do?
I always like to turn it down and put the cap on.
Put the cap on, and for these kind, you can hear a snap.
Oh, yep.
That tells you it's closed. And then, just so my mom will be happy with me, I remember to throw away my scraps. And if they're big scraps, I save them for next time because
Yeah.
we might have another project using paper.
Yep.
And Are we making a project next week?
We are making a project next week. Okay, so friends at home, for our special project next week, you're going to need some supplies. Let me grab them. You're going to need some glue. You're going to need a marker or crayons, something to draw or color with. You're going to need a paper plate and some special pasta. This is bow tie, this is shell pasta, this is rigatoni, and these are orzo. You only need a couple of each, but we're gonna do something really cool with this next week.
Ooh, I can't wait to find out what it will be.
Friends, it's that time in our show again where we have to say goodbye. It is time to say goodbye to all our friends. It is time to say goodbye to all our friends. It is time to say goodbye. Give a smile and wink your eye. It is time to say goodbye to all our friends.
I want to thank our crew and our families for joining us, and for you, Mrs. Day and Fanny, for joining us today. If you want to watch us, check us out on SMCPS YouTube or Channel 96. Until next time.
Goodbye.